show can be a little gay, but if you're not, that's okay. You can listen and have fun either way. Xena, Star Wars, Doctor Who, guests and music and reviews, Game of Thrones, Wynonna too. We promise there's something for you. She nerds out. We're girls that like nerdy things. Nerdy things.
Hello and welcome to the She Nerds Out podcast. I'm Kat.
I'm Wendy.
And this is Tara.
Hey, is this book club?
Oh, hi.
Yeah,
Anne.
you're a little bit late. Yeah, come on in.
I'm here with my book. I was told there'd be snacks.
There are. Well, if you got some at your place, there are.
Sorry, and what is your name?
My name is Anne.
Very
Here for
good.
book club.
Okay.
Well, as Anne has said, it's book club finally. So we're going to talk a little book club, and then we're going to get into the full, it's like a minute and a half trailer for Wynonna Vengeance, because Twitter wants us to do that. The majority of Twitter wants us to do that. But first, hi everybody.
What's up?
Hey, how
Hey.
you doing?
All right, great. Let's get into it. So yeah, this is the book club summer, which means it takes one summer to finish one book. I think
Yeah.
isn't that what that means?
Remember in school you had to read a certain number of books, or they wanted you to? For us, we did a book over a summer.
did.
And it was quite a feat.
I feel like it's kind of accurate, considering if we were to meet in person for a book club, we would probably discuss the book for 2 seconds and then just go on with absolute shenanigans. So I
Have
feel like
wine.
we might have
Yep.
been more productive this way,
That's fair.
even though it doesn't really feel like it.
Okay, that's fair. So when last we left our heroes, I think we stopped reading.
I believe that's Shiro's.
Let's
Sorry,
go ahead and
Shiro's.
before we start
Oh,
jumping
yeah,
in,
good.
recap for the audience what we're reading, because
great.
you guys, it's been so long.
Oh, interesting.
It
Yeah.
might, so we're reading Cleat Cute.
Yeah.
By
yeah.
Oh,
Meryl-
I read the wrong book.
You
Oh,
haven't missed
shit.
anything. It's still the same book.
Yep.
Definitely the same
By
book.
Meryl Wilsner.
Yes.
And our assignment for these last few months were to read chapters 20 through the end of the book, which I think was like chapter 32 or no, 36, chapter 36. So we gave ourselves quite a big assignment. But just a recap for folks who aren't
Please, thank
familiar.
you.
So if you haven't read the book, who cares? We're basically going to talk through it right now. And
We're going to tell you the
know?
whole book. You don't even need to read the book now, but you
Yeah.
should read the book.
Yeah.
you should. Yeah. And then we'll hop into the Wynonna Earp trailer.
Sure.
So there was a lot of homework this week. It was like read a book and then break down a trailer second by second. So
right.
I felt the pressure.
Yeah,
but,
Tara was not happy with the homework assignment this week.
yeah, I was like, you what? Now you want me to do both those things? You know how many
Wow.
notes I had to make?
You're
Wow.
upset with the homework. What do you want to transfer out of this class?
Yeah, I do. I'm going to rate my teacher online.
We just started. You can't. So
yes.
should we do a quick? I mean, if you're following along because you've read the book, I feel like we don't need to do a recap of the first
Right.
19 chapters.
Here's
and
a
if you
recap.
don't, if you don't care about the book, then you don't care either way.
Soccer,
Yeah.
gays,
Good.
queers, theys,
Beignets.
thems,
Beignets.
drama, braids, redheads. Beignets, right. Takes place in New Orleans.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's talk of World Cup team, where there's national team. There's the New Orleans crew. Is that the name of their?
Yes, they're
Okay.
called the crew. Yeah.
We've got main characters Phoebe and Grace. Grace is what do you call Grace? A soccer all-star
Yeah. Captain.
Veteran.
Veteran, a 26-year-old veteran.
Yeah, she's fallen
almost
apart.
washed up
Falling apart.
Yeah,
in her terms.
she's decrepit. Yeah, in her own
Right.
terms. Yeah,
Phoebe's an up-and-coming rookie. Lots of energy on and off the field.
Very flirty.
Oh, yeah.
flirty dog with a bone. They've now entered friends with benefits stage of their
Yes.
friendship.
Right.
Heavy on the benefits.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I think we left off where Grace has been hiding this injury for a while,
Right.
this hip injury, and basically says, if anyone finds out about this injury, I'm done for. I'm
Yeah.
washed up.
Yep.
These might be my last days on Earth. Like,
Might
this
as well just
is
take
the
me to the
worst.
back of the barn and shoot me.
This is the worst thing. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the team has just learned about this injury and Grace has been put on the injury list. This is, big deal for her.
Right. Well,
Right.
and Phoebe spilled the beans about the
Yeah.
injury because she cares. She cares
Right.
about
Yeah.
Grace, and she knows that it's easier to just deal with it than to let it get worse. And so because she cares about Grace, she
Right.
wants her to get it treated. So she spills the
But
beans.
Grace doesn't know that Phoebe spilled the beans yet.
Right.
She
And
does
Phoebe
not
kind of
know.
did it a little unintentionally. I think there was a conversation. She thought this trainer that Grace had already told her because they had a conversation saying, Grace, you got to tell her. And
Right.
Grace
And
said,
she's
fine.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll tell
So,
her.
She didn't do it with in a mean-spirited
No,
way.
no, not at all. Best of intentions.
Right.
Right.
It wasn't malicious at all.
So Grace
yes.
is now out for 3 to 6 weeks, and she's coming unglued. Is
She
what I was I
She
would call it.
really is.
Yeah, a lot of my notes, like chapter by chapter, it's like, and Grace is really in her head about things. Like she's
Yeah.
just kind of spiraling inwardly,
Right.
Yeah.
just like nonstop rotating on it. Like, what about this? What about that? What does this mean? And I can relate. Like that's how I get when I make shifts. Like I'll just get in my head about things.
Sure.
Right.
And she even convinces herself that she's not good at soccer and that her teams aren't going to miss her, and she in her head it's like, yeah, I may have played my last game. I may
Right.
be done.
Right. And then I think we left off Grace she could go to practice, but she couldn't practice, right? So she was just really having a hard time at practice and found herself like more coaching than anything because she just couldn't stay out of it because she doesn't know how to live a life without soccer. Like soccer's her world.
Yes.
Yeah, and she helps Phoebe out, physically holding her back and like you don't go yet until I say go, which totally just turns Phoebe on.
Of course.
During this whole thing.
Everything Grace does really turns Phoebe on.
Right. But her coaching kind of took a turn. It's kind of the one practice she coached. It was a little intense, I think. And basically she was told, no, you won't be coming back to practice tomorrow.
Right, exactly.
So now she's really out of it. So now she's really spiraling. Now I have my notes here, if we're kind of going chapter by chapter a little bit here. For chapter 20, I have that I think Phoebe had come over to Grace's house after that whole practice fiasco. They decided that they were going to have sex.
Yeah.
Then they meet up. They're still having sex. I have the first 7 pages of chapter 20 is sex.
Yeah.
And Phoebe wants to cuddle after Grace is uncomfortable, and Phoebe takes Grace's sweatshirt, and that's some kind of something. Oh, I think pause. We lost Cat. Let's see what Cat says.
Uh-oh.
Laptop
Amateur.
just died. Keep
Just
going.
died. Keep
Okay.
going. Go on without
All right.
me. What
All
did I
right.
say about amateurs here? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have Phoebe is a dirty talker, just
Yes.
can't talk enough in the bedroom. And Grace is out of sorts after they have sex because she's like, okay, how long? Like she's never had anyone in her bedroom before. So even
Mhm.
before they leave the couch and go into her room, she's kind of thinking about it like, oh God, I've never had somebody in my room before. But yeah, so it's like a lot of in her head, not even just about soccer, but about this kind of stuff too, right?
Right.
She's like, how long do I lay here? How long is too long? Like I'll count to 3 minutes seems long enough. And
Right.
yeah, it's just awkward.
Yeah. Awkward all around. So then we for 21, chapter 21, I have Grace telling her family about the injury.
Right, because she
Which is
has
like-
to because the injury report is going to come out. So she's like, I
Right.
got to call my family before they find out about it on the news.
Right. And then Amanda, the coach for the national team, emails and basically just says, hey, rest up. Don't worry about us. Make sure you get your rest. And then Grace quickly spirals again, basically feeling like they don't need, that means they don't need her. Look, they don't even miss her. They don't have any plan for her to come back. There's a lot of spiraling in this chapter here.
Yeah, a lot of spiraling.
Yeah. And then I have more sex written in here.
In chapter 21, was there more sex?
Yeah, chapter 21, more sex.
Oh, yeah, there was. Yeah, because like Phoebe gets the call, so she's totally excited because she's gonna oh no. Is that the chapter where Phoebe gets the call that she's gonna be on the national team? No, this is just
so.
so she tells her parents, and then like shortly after she hangs up with her mom, she's like, oh, my sister's gonna call any second. And she literally calls and she's like, according to mom, you're dying. How bad is it? So she's spiraling about that. And then the national team calls and is like, yeah, you're not gonna be able to play in the Sheroes tournament.
Yeah.
And then, her friend calls and is like, how are you doing? And
Fish?
she's like, Fish calls and is like, I'm out for this long. And she's like, no, I didn't ask about the prognosis. I asked how you were doing, which I thought was really like a sweet thing. Like, no, I don't want to hear about your injury. I know this must be bothering you. Like, how are you doing?
Which will become a theme with Grace, where it's like the people in her life. She's used to just
did
talking
you
about
join us
soccer.
again?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean
back?
to interrupt. I'm back. I had to go do something. So I think she, we know this. Like Grace only is so focused on soccer that people in her life, she assumes that's all people want to talk about because that's all that's her worth, right? That's how she sees her worth in the world is soccer. And so the people are like, no, I don't actually give a shit about the soccer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, this is a theme.
And Grace in this chapter, mentions that she doesn't feel like she exists outside of soccer.
Yeah. And she doesn't know what to do with herself. Like the next day she sleeps in and she just does like, dumb stuff. She's like, just doesn't know what to do. But yeah, you're right. And then there's Phoebe stops in and there's more sex.
Has there?
Yep.
And she literally says, I hate to eat and run. And I was like, oh God.
Pretty good.
But yeah, and then she but she is like, can't we just hang, because she's like, can't but then she comes back the next morning in this chapter too, and she's like, you up? And Grace is like, it's too early for sex. And she's like, can't we just hang out? Like even there, like Grace is,
she's very standoffish about it,
Yeah, she's like, she's always kind of confused about how things really are. Like,
right.
She's not just about soccer. People like care about her more than that, but she doesn't seem to think so. And even here, she's like, she just wants me for sex. But Phoebe's like, can't we hang out? Like, I've got these King's cakes. Like, we can do this without having sex. So.
Yep.
So in the next chapter, they're hanging out. And then Phoebe starts kind of talking soccer a little bit again and asks Grace who the weakest player is on the team. Essentially kind of trying to, Grace won't answer, by the way, because she again jumps immediately to, oh, now this person's just using me for my soccer expertise. They don't actually like me. They have a different angle, right?
Yep.
And so there's a little hostility there. And
yeah, she's like, you're a good player. Figure it out on your own.
Yeah. It's a little awkward.
But we find out why she's a little suspicious later. Why she thinks that she's being used for soccer.
Yeah, and Phoebe does. Phoebe goes on and she talks to her brother Teddy instead and is like, hey, first of all, I'm going to be playing in the tournament. And Teddy's like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then they kind of like strategize together, like whose spot do I need to take?
Right.
Yeah. Because she's planning. She wants to get on the national team for good. So she's like, who can I outplay so that when I show them how great I am during this tournament, they kick that other person off the team and put me in it. It's smart, you know.
She's goofy, but she got an angle. I mean, she's not using Grace, but she's got a little plan going.
Yeah, she's smart.
Yeah.
So her and Teddy narrow it down to it being Kelsey that's the weakest on the team. Kelsey, of course, is Grace's. I don't know what to call Kelsey. Love interest? We don't really know. There's some history there. We're not really sure yet what that is.
Just hints at this point. We're not sure, but we know there's some weird thing happened between the two of them.
Some animosity.
Yeah. And then Phoebe and Grace are hanging out again, and that's when Phoebe gets the call from Amanda, the national team coach, and lets her know that she's made that Shiro's team and that she'll be playing. And so they're very happy, right?
And it's because Grace can't play, right? Like she's basically
essentially
Grace's spot, which is kind of awkward, you know?
Yeah, it is. And then the crew preseason starts, the preseason for the New Orleans team. So again, we got the national team and then their club local teams that they're playing for. So that's also starting. So chapter 24 is the Shiro's tournament. And Grace texts her to wake her up because she's been texting her because she has a hard time waking up sometimes. And have that Phoebe sends Grace a sexy picture of some kind. I don't remember. They kind of like start texting more. And then she sees Grace's commercial that Grace apparently filmed after the injury when she was supposed to be resting. Grace just couldn't sit still and filmed this commercial. So now she's kind of
she's like, wait a minute, what are you doing on my TV? And she's like, what? And when did you film that? When did you do this commercial?
Yeah.
And then she tells her, and then she gets really mad, and she's like, you weren't supposed to be doing that. What else are you doing that you aren't supposed to be doing? And Grace is like, you're at my house almost every day. You know I'm not doing anything. And she's just like, I can't believe you would jeopardize things. And she's getting so mad. And then Phoebe's like, I'm glad I told Dawn about your hip.
Ouch.
Yeah.
I thought she overreacted a little bit to that. I was with Grace on this one. It was a commitment. She just kicked the ball a couple times. I mean, she'd been playing full out soccer on the leg, and now she did a little kicking for a commercial that she'd already committed to. It's like, calm down, Phoebe. Fine.
Plus, she got to get paid. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So they have a fight about both of those things. And then meanwhile, the Shiro's tournament is happening, and Phoebe does not get a text from Grace the next morning.
No wake up text.
She's like, wake up on your own, bitch. Good luck. I hope you make the game.
I hope you get your breakfast on time. Hope you don't miss the bus.
And then Phoebe talks to Amanda, who's the coach for the national team. Right. And Amanda tells her that she will be starting the next game. So
she's going to get her first cap.
Yeah, exactly. First cap. And so during this chapter, we have the game. It goes well. However, she never hears from Grace.
Yeah, texts from everybody, but still nothing from Grace.
And then, unbeknownst to me, Phoebe's like, you know what? I really want to try with Grace. I think I really like her.
Well, yeah, and she's like, wait a minute. The last text I got from her, she said, it's not like I'll be missed. And Phoebe's kind of like, you know what? I've quit everything in my life but soccer. I'm not going to quit Grace, basically, is what she comes up with in her head, and is gonna commit to this now.
That's right.
She's gonna show her that she would be missed and she's worthy.
Oh, okay. I have thoughts. Mark this point. Yes, that passive aggressive text about she will not be missed. Okay.
I'm writing it down.
As someone who has been known to do that, I get great. Like, I'm not gonna be missed anyway. It's not like I was even good. I'm 26. I'm over the hill.
Wendy, you're such a Grace.
Yeah, I recognized. I saw myself in that a couple times.
Okay, good.
And I get she's in a hard spot, but if this had not been a common theme throughout the book up until this point, that
Right.
it has been really been, shoved in our faces.
Hammered
This
home.
is a common passive aggressiveness in this way. So meanwhile, we kind of go back a little bit, and we get a chapter next where Grace is watching the game, and she watches Phoebe and Kelsey celebrate a goal together.
Oh boy.
She's like, how dare those teammates, them celebrate a goal together?
Sportsmanship.
Doesn't Phoebe know that Kelsey crossed me in some unknown way?
Even though I've never told her.
Even though we never really did anything, which we'll find out later. But anyway, doesn't she know that? Okay.
Right.
So she's mad at Phoebe.
Right.
Yes.
And she can't sleep, and she takes this walk. She's just going to calm herself down. She's like in the park. And then she sees a woman in the dark lugging a suitcase behind her. And she's like, wait a minute. I'd recognize that crappy braid anywhere. Anywhere. I know I didn't do that braid.
That's
and
right.
It's Phoebe, and all of her calm goes out the window. I thought
Phoebe
this was a funny situation because she's like, what are you doing at 10 o'clock at night? And I can picture her like clumsily lugging this like suitcase. And she's like, well, I couldn't remember where you live, and you can't just stop texting me.
Yeah, she's like, can't just
my
stop
phone
talking to me.
died. And she's just like, I have anxiety thinking about this woman just like her life
real.
being a mess. Like, couldn't remember
Both
where
of
you
them.
live. My phone died, so I couldn't call you. I couldn't look it up. I was in the Uber. I was just like, just stop here.
So they go to back to Grace's house to fight, basically.
Sure.
Right.
And then finally, Grace tells Phoebe about Kelsey, and that Kelsey used her to get drafted. Kind of alluded to them being something there, even though nothing really happened. She just allude or asked Grace for information, and maybe was flirty a little bit or something.
I thought they kissed. Didn't they kiss?
Did they
Did
kiss?
something, I thought.
I thought they kissed.
Then she got drafted, and then that was it. And then Kelsey was like, "Thanks, bye."
Well, it sounded like Grace kind of got her draft. Like she was responsible for getting
Yeah, she like
her,
actively worked to like put in a
her
good
on the
word for her.
on the radar. Of the
Yeah.
team. Yeah.
So Phoebe is very understanding and like, okay, I can see that. She tells Grace about her feelings, that she likes her. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They have makeup sex.
Sure.
Right. She's like, I'm not seeing anyone else.
Right.
And then Grace is like, I'm not seeing anyone else. It's very coded. And they're both like,
Right.
me either. Okay, how about we both don't see anyone else?
Right.
And then Phoebe says, well, Grace, what about, your thing about not wanting a relationship? And Grace is like, well, what about it? And then Phoebe, in her mind, thought that meant, oh, we're in a relationship now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She's willing.
Makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah. She wakes up in Grace's bed and she's like, I can't believe Grace Henderson's my girlfriend. And I need to take that poster down from my bedroom before she ever sees it, because that's going to be embarrassing.
Yeah. So next chapter, Phoebe goes to work and she hangs out with her teammate Gabby. And they have a conversation. So Gabby's saying, that Gabby likes someone, Sorrel, who's another player on the team. They talk about dating a teammate.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, Phoebe is doing some more freaking out about being girlfriends with Grace. Those are the notes that I have. And so and it's her first morning as girlfriends with Grace.
Right.
Mentioned again.
Yeah. Yeah. And then And so now some time has gone by. It's been like 3.5 weeks. Grace is getting evaluated to see if she's ready to start like practicing again, right?
Yeah, she's go see the
And-
trainers. Mhm.
Yeah, she's anxious, she's nervous, she's all in her head about it. And she's like, well, you know, of course it doesn't hurt because I haven't done shit in weeks, but I know it's going to hurt like as soon as I start playing. She's like what I like to call pre-panicking.
Hard,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Like she's thinking about things before they're even something that you need to. She's freaking about things before she even needs to freak
Yeah,
about.
she's chronic anxiety.
Yeah. It's like
Yes.
story of my life.
Same.
Note that as well. Mhm.
Yes.
So
And,
I put a big star by this because we've had many, almost every chapter of Grace going on and on about how this is the end of her career, how
Right.
washed up she is, over the hill,
Right.
basically just standing up and dying at the same time. And then all of a sudden, she's like, "Oh, my hip doesn't hurt.
How about
My
that?
body isn't falling apart from old age after all.
Google was wrong. I don't have cancer.
Like, swing my leg over here. It doesn't hurt. Oh,
Right.
well, never mind. It's fine." So that happened. And I was like, "Are you kidding me? I just had to endure multiple chapters of you
no.
spiraling
But also-
over this."
She's
no.
excited, but she's not as excited as she thought she would be, right? Like she's relieved, but she's also like she
What if I'm
thought
not as
she
good
would
as I
be
was
like,
before?
yeah, overjoyed to play again. And it's like there's still something looming in her head, like why she's starting to notice that she doesn't feel as passionate about it as she did before, and she's trying to figure out what that's all about.
Right.
So, meanwhile, we have a national team game that Phoebe's playing in,
Yes.
and Grace is there now, and she's watching from the suite. And Phoebe plays really great. I guess I have that in a note, so I'm going to say that happened. I have a note here that says, "Oh boy, I have a quote." I said, age quote from page 240. It says, "After the final whistle, Grace joins her team on the field. Her team. For once, she feels like she'll actually be part of the team again soon." It says, "She dreads getting older, but maybe Phoebe was right, and she isn't aging quite yet.
You think?
Her body isn't letting her down." Yeah, maybe Phoebe's on to something. She's a real genius. I was like, "Are you kidding? Is this for real?" I was like, "Get this girl some therapy for real. She's got
That's a
ingrained
I was saying
issues."
that constantly. Like
Like,
this is
seriously.
I have taken therapy in the past. I'm in therapy now.
Yeah,
Listen.
I'm not saying that lightly. As am I.
Yeah. I think
Red Flag
everybody
City.
everybody probably needs therapy
Yes.
at some level, but like Grace would really benefit from some therapy.
And it really, well, it escalates from here. Let's just say that.
The game goes well, and they're like, "Hey, let's go out and have some drinks and celebrate." They all go out, they're drinking, they're like strategizing, talking about like different positions that Phoebe can play, like some of the positions that she's playing on the national team. Like maybe we can do what we're doing on the national team with when we play with the crew. Drinks are
and
flowing.
Sorrel is really, who's the temporary captain, I believe.
Yes.
While Grace has
Yes.
been out.
Yeah.
Is really coming up with some good ideas and just basically saying our coach on the crew is an asshole. He should listen to us. They need to put you in this spot. You'll be so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And,
Grace thinks, well, Sorrel makes a pretty good captain.
Yeah. Starts evaluating, just thinking, putting a little thought in her head there.
Interesting.
And Grace isn't really drinking, but Phoebe is definitely drinking and is being very flirty with Grace. And teammates are like kind of noticing, but not saying anything. And they're just making comments about like, "Oh, wow, Grace, like usually you're in bed by now. You know, usually you don't hang out with us this long, because she's like more of a homebody, right?
Yes.
And she makes excuses like, well, I'm paying the tab, so I have to be here. And then when she goes to leave, Phoebe makes an excuse to leave as well. And then Grace buys one more round of drinks to distract everybody so they don't all leave too.
It's a good plan.
It's a very good plan. And then she takes drunk Phoebe to Cafe Du Monde to go get some beignets. And they talk a little bit more soccer, and they kind of like decide that they should work together and become like a dynamic duo on the field, right?
Yeah, if they're in different positions that are more inclined to play, not what their crew coach has put them in, which basically means like, I think on the crew they wouldn't play together. I think, isn't Phoebe sort of Grace's backup, or like what's it called, Tara, when you go in for somebody else?
It's the sub.
She's a sub. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And they kind of play similar positions, or not positions that would necessarily like be as, you know, goal oriented, you know, offensive oriented. So, yeah. So then we have like a 2-week jump here. So, you know, chapter 29, things are going well after a couple of weeks. Phoebe says, hey, can I tell my parents about us? I'd like to tell. I know we're not telling anybody else, but can I at least tell my parents? And Grace is like, "Ooh, I don't know about that."
Well, she says, "You want your mom to know who you're sleeping with?" And Phoebe's like, "Oh yeah, I guess it's kind of a good point." But it's like just a way like Grace thinks about things, right? It's like she's very black and white with things. And she constantly talks about how like she needs rules and order. And like not only is she strike me as someone who's like anxious, but like neurodivergent, possibly. Like it's part of that, like everything has to like fit cookie cutter, like in order for it to make sense, but also for her not to be anxious about things.
Right. She needs it to be that way. But also, Phoebe thinks they're dating.
Right.
And Grace thinks they're just friends with benefits. So, like, would you tell your mom who your friends with benefits are? Like, in Grace's defense, it's like, why would you want to tell your mom?
Right. How are you going to explain
just
that?
Sleeping
But
with.
it
Like,
feels like that. I could answer that question and be like, well, because I care about you and I want, you know, you're more than just the person I'm sleeping with. I want to tell my mom that we've talked about it and we care about each other.
Right.
We might not be officially a thing, but you know.
Well, Tara, that makes sense.
Okay.
Well, communication makes sense. Right.
Just an option I'm throwing out there.
And it's Phoebe's first professional game day.
Yes.
And she's
on the crew.
Right,
with the
right.
asshole coach. Right.
Yeah. And she's excited and she's anxious. And she looks over on the sidelines and Grace is there. Not only is she there, but she's in a 3-piece suit, which has Phoebe a little rattled.
Yeah, it does.
Sure.
Yeah. So of course, they're playing against Kelsey's team. This Kelsey.
Of course. Right.
So the game is not going as well as planned. The coach keeps screaming at Phoebe, hey, you need to move up, right? You need to... Was this the one where that happened? Maybe I'm in...
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, with her
Yeah,
words.
she's like, get him, for God's sake, move up.
Yeah.
And then, but like, you're not getting back in time. He's just sending some mixed messages.
Yes.
Right. And now Phoebe knows about Kelsey. So like she's also noticing that like, Grace can't even look at Kelsey, right? So this is like pissing Phoebe off even more. Just like, ugh, fucking Kelsey.
And
So in the
she even kind of talks a little shit about Grace to
Oh
Phoebe.
yeah. Some little side comment.
Which is,
So, and was this where Sorrel kind of spoke up at halftime?
Yes.
Was that yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So Sorrel being the pseudo captain now Grace has gone back to being the captain of the crew, technically, but Sorrel is still kind of hanging in there.
Right.
So she stands up to this coach and says, "Hey, why would you can't blame her for being back too far or too much. You're the one screaming at her the whole time to do that. You need to do this, and this." And they got in a big fight. And in the second half, Phoebe gets a red card against
Right.
Kelsey and is ejected from the game.
Oh boy.
Mhm. Yeah, she like
She's
hits her a
very
little too
upset.
hard. Right.
Yeah. So she goes back to the locker room. She has to wait there. She's very upset. Even though her teammates come back and they're kind of like, oh, well, you gave us like the kick in the ass we needed in that second half.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But she's like totally really hard on herself, right?
Oh, yeah.
She's
Right.
like thinking like, God, I like not only is her girlfriend watching, but her girlfriend is also her childhood idol. Like not even
Right.
childhood, like she's still kind of her idol, right? Like she's
Yeah.
like her favorite player in the world and her girlfriend. So it's like, oh God, she saw all of this. I hope she still likes me. My family
And-
was
yes,
here.
that's
It's
it.
like
The
this is
family
the
was there.
worst.
That's
yeah.
a big part of
she
it. Yeah.
her family came in for that from out of town to watch this match. And so after this, okay, mark this. This is where the red flags really started going up for me
Okay.
with Grace.
Okay.
So after the game, Grace, comes down and Phoebe and her family is there and they are, chatting. And Grace is really perturbed that Phoebe's family is giving her a hard time. They're just kind of like Josh, where they're like,
Right.
oh yeah, you really gave her, oh, why'd you do that your first game? Like, they're like families just like give each other shit, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
And
She's
Phoebe
like,
is like playing along with it, even though it comes from a place of like concern for Phoebe because she knows Phoebe's very upset about getting this card.
Sure.
But I thought it was going to go a different direction than it went.
Very much so. Very much so.
I don't know what I thought, but I had not expected the direction it went. And I thought she was going to be like, oh, well, now I understand. Phoebe has a conversation with her and they're like, oh, it's my family. I love them. It's fine. But that did not happen.
No.
So, any other thoughts on that chapter? Because in chapter 30, Grace tells Phoebe, I don't like how they talk to you.
Yeah. But it's like, it's like they kind of don't let up. Like it's a little much, but Grace doesn't really get like the social cues,
She
right?
goes
Like, she doesn't
100% in the other
understand.
direction.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But there is the funny part where her dad's like, oh, you look familiar. And he's like, oh, yeah, your poster's above my darling daughter's bed. And she's just like, oh, my God, I cannot believe this is happening.
But
Yeah.
they also do they ever say like, hey, congrats and like tough game, but boy, are we sure proud of you. Like, did they just came in and gave her shit the whole time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a little weird. It's a little weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But listen, families are weird, and
Families are definitely weird.
That's how some
and
people
they're your
function.
families and not your
It's not your business.
girlfriend, not
Yeah.
your
Right.
person who doesn't want to even admit to being your girlfriend.
Sure.
So-
And Grace is kind of struggling too, because she's starting to realize, oh my God, I have feelings for her. Like I kind of just wanted to kiss her all day. And like, why is it upsetting me so much that these people are like seemingly not really treating her very well?
Right.
Yeah. So, from there, I don't know how to really segue into this because I don't think there was much of a segue.
It's okay. Just go for it.
She's saying I don't like how they treated you, as if like she's like throwing down the gauntlet and like gonna like what is she gonna do? They
Right.
should be nicer to you. And then like why what is this card? Was it about the card? Like how did this happen anyway? It doesn't seem like your meds are working.
Yeah,
Right.
she's like, it's not nice that they would tease you about your impulsivity and sensitivity. It's not nice when you have a disorder.
When you're with your disorder.
At this point, I
And-
thought, did I miss something in one of the
Yeah.
other chapters? Has this been a theme? Because I don't. Does she have it? Is she on meds? And yeah, it came out of very much left field for me.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. And so not only has she like had the shittiest game of her life in front of everyone, then she's like, wait, meds, disorder. Like,
Yeah, Phoebe's like, what the fuck? Like,
What are you talking about?
and Grace is like, yeah, like your meds, they're not working, obviously.
You should talk to your doctor.
you should have that checked.
So Grace thinks that Phoebe has undiagnosed ADHD, and boy, does she not let it go.
Nope.
Grace is sad, and then she also kind of reflects. She's sad that her own family isn't there because Grace told her family not to come.
Right.
So she's going through that.
And then she's like, wait a minute, I haven't ever seen her take any pills except for the fish oil she keeps taking from my cabinet.
Yeah.
And is this where she's like, of course she has of course she has ADHD. My sister has ADHD, and look
she's
how the
very
meds helped her.
similar.
She like latches on in a very weird and aggressive way to Phoebe having ADHD. She has to help her. She has to solve this for her.
Right.
And it made me very uncomfortable. Like this put up so many flags. Like,
But people love to diagnose other people, especially if they have like an ounce of like a perspective on it because they either know somebody with something or they have it themselves. Like
and
people
that's
love
fine
to do that.
Sure.
But like going as far as to assume someone's on meds and then like not just assuming it, but then saying, hey, are your meds working? Your meds aren't working anymore, are they? Because you're so off the rails. Like, to just be like,
but
what the
that's
fuck?
why
If
I
someone-
think
I'm on
Grace is
depression medicine.
neurodivergent because Grace doesn't understand that
And
like
that's fine. I agree.
that's not something that you can just say to people.
Right. Because if someone said that to me about any medicine, like, are you sure? Are you off your meds? Your meds? I'd be like, you better
Tara,
shut
are you
the
off your
fuck up.
meds? Calm down.
Oh God.
Is this a rant? Calm down.
Can you imagine? And then like this
awful.
person that like doesn't want like, it was just weird for me.
Well, and like, why wouldn't she have earlier in the book where she notices like, oh, she's always late. She has a bunch of alarms for herself.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, do you have ADHD?
Have you? Exactly. There were so many
even
other points in the book.
lighthearted, passive-aggressive comments like,
Just bring it up. In some
okay,
way.
ADHD, like, can you sit still for a second?
You know, my sister had, she kind of had the same stuff that you're going through, and then she got diagnosed. Like, there's a way to do it.
That's exactly right, Kat, because it's not like these struggles that Phoebe has had with the time management, waking up, setting the alarms. Those have been mentioned in the book before many times.
Yeah.
But
it's a theme.
There's so many. It just was so from left field to go about it this way than at any of those other points you mentioned, Kat, in any of those ways. Like, oh, hey, is this something you always have trouble with? Like, maybe you should, my sister had the same issues, and, that is perfectly fine.
Right.
And
That's an appropriate way. Exactly. That's an appropriate way to bring
Or
it
I'm
up.
surprised, like, or even with some of these things, even if we just had Grace's inner thoughts, like, I wonder if she is this, or maybe she's this. Maybe I should talk to her about it sometime. Oh, it's just not there. Something to where it's not just completely
inner
like,
monologue.
what's going on with your meds? It's like how to, like, I think it wouldn't have been as jarring if you'd had some sort of inner thought from Grace, wondering or assuming already, like she.
Well,
must be
because
whatever.
we were thinking it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not like it was a surprise that she said it, but like it wasn't really a surprise to us. Like,
yeah, I didn't even think about that. I just thought she was like crazy, quirky,
No, I
late all
feel
the
like-
time, kind of.
I feel like
mentioned
Tara, I think you brought it up in
Did
the
you?
first book club meeting. I feel like you were like, yeah, it feels like they are setting up ADHD for her. So I remember you bringing it up early.
Because they made a point to bring up certain things quite a few times.
yeah, a lot of her shortcomings.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, okay, we'll go a couple chapters here, and then
But then Phoebe kinda
then the flags really pick up.
So
Phoebe starts to realize that, or Grace starts to realize that, like, oh, wait a minute, like, I'm making some assumptions, right? Like,
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh boy. Yeah, so in chapter 31, Grace, she somehow also has time to think about these other things. Tells Sorrel, she texts Sorrel, I think, and asks, hey, can you meet up? And Sorrel's like, hey, I want to make sure this isn't a date because I'm dating Gabby. And I just want to make sure that you're not asking me out on a date, right? She's like, no, I'm not asking you out.
but
And
before that happens,
It's very
she
mature
has,
of her to do that. It's like,
she
by the
has
way.
a really important conversation with her dad,
Right.
right?
The dad conversation was before that, right?
Yeah. Her dad calls and is like, Matthews looked really good out there. And she immediately starts, talking down about herself. And she's like, yeah, she'd be a real good replacement for me. And he's like, what are you talking about? And then she just breaks down, right?
Yeah.
And this is where she realized, like, it's all overwhelming. And her dad just kind of sits and waits her out patiently while she, like, kind of gathers herself. And she talks about how, like, the first thing they ever ask her about is soccer. And he's like, well, because soccer's always been your whole world, and that's how we could connect with you. And
Yeah.
that it's not because we only care about that. It's that we knew you cared about
Yeah,
it.
you only care about soccer.
Yeah. And, like, that's a way to connect because that's her interest, right? And, like, I have a neurodivergent child. So, like, I get that part because it's like one of my kids doesn't talk a lot, quite honestly. They're very quiet. And so it's like when you find something that they're interested in, you'll talk about that because you know that they'll all of a sudden spark up, right? Like they'll light up, and it's like, you can ask about a ton of other things and it'll be like, okay, fine. Yeah, sure. But you ask about this anime they just watched and all of a sudden they, like, turn into a totally different person. So it's like, I could see, like, how that came across to her was like, that's all they care about. Just like another huge miscommunication, right?
Well, I mean, Grace is a walking miscommunication.
Yeah.
But to your point, Anne, yeah, that her dad says it. Like, if you were into space, we would have sent you to space camp. And, like,
right.
It's like, yeah, exactly. Like, this is how I'm bonding with my daughter. I think that's literally how he says it. Like, this is the only way I knew how to bond with you. So he's like, it's a really nice, sweet moment, actually. I thought the dad it was a nice moment. And even though Grace is completely unraveling, she's starting to kind of come around to realize that she's more than just soccer.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of what he says too, essentially kind of like, well, think about, is this still something that you're really that passionate about?
Yeah, he plants the seed of, like, you could quit. She's like,
right. You don't have to.
Yeah, you don't have to do the things you don't want to do.
I don't think I can quit.
Right.
Yeah. So then she has a conversation with Sorrel. They meet up. And she says, I've been thinking, and I think actually you, Sorrel, make a better captain than I do. You actually stood up to the coach. You had some really great ideas. You're really passionate. I'm just not sure I'm feeling it anymore. How would you feel if I made you captain or passed it to you? And I just want to play. I just want to play. And then she also realizes, I don't want to do media anymore either. I don't think I'll be doing that anymore. She hates doing it after the game. She hates, any kind of press. And Sorrel is a little surprised, I think, and kind of is like, how is this going to work? And how is that going to fly with the coach?
Right.
So,
Tara, I have a soccer question. Do the players nominate the captain?
No, not officially. There's not like a ballot box, but it's usually the coach, like, that sees, who's a good leader, who
Got it.
Team. It's not a voting system, but
got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not where I played.
Okay.
So yeah, so that was an interesting turn. And I don't know if you guys have any other notes from that chapter, or I'll move on to chapter 32.
Keep going.
Well, no, and then she's just like, that's kind of like where she realizes that it's like not just soccer that she's kind of struggling with, but it's with all the pressures, right? Like the being responsible, being the leader, all these other pressures, and like the interviews. And then she kind of just makes up her mind that she's like kind of going to stop doing the things that don't bring her joy. And after meeting with Sorrel, that's when she emails her agent and she decides that this exclusive interview is going to be her last interview.
So then Grace goes to Phoebe's apartment and apologizes / and I'm putting this in air quotes here, explains her ADHD comments. And explains, not like, oh, maybe I went a little hard on that. She's like, it wasn't a real apology of mine, because anytime you say I'm sorry, but
right.
So essentially, yeah, I'm really sorry I said that, but I'm right because my sister has ADHD, and you should know my sister how much it helped her, and how. So essentially, trying to completely rationalize and justify comments and behavior, which apparently works to some degree because then they have sex.
Well, because all Phoebe hears the whole time is the word love. Because she's like, I love this about you, and I love how you do this, and I love how you do this. And I just picture Phoebe like a cartoon character with like big heart eyes like shooting out of her head because she's like, blah, 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 love, blah, 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 blah. Love.
But it's also all the things that Phoebe hates about herself is what Grace is saying. I love this about you. I love that about you. And it's like, she's reaffirming to Phoebe, like, I love everything about you, and the things that drive yourself crazy about are good things, but you should be on meds.
Yeah.
Feel
and
better
she
this way.
keeps pushing it. So in my mind, I thought, please God, let this conversation end. Let that be the end of it. But no, it only, again, escalates even further. I see. Okay, they had sex. Thank God. Okay, Grace has gotten that out of her system. Gotten that off her chest. She told her the sister ADHD thing. My God, so they have sex. After the sex, Grace continues to push the ADHD diagnosis even more and suggests the medicine again. And Phoebe says, look, I don't want to talk about it. She goes, first of all, it's not like all of us have insurance and money. And she kind of goes into, again, like the disparaging, like the discrepancies. Yeah, the pay and the insurance and what's covered. And it's not that easy to you make it seem so easy. And so she does kind of go into more than just the like, why the fuck are you telling me this? There's a lot more to it. That it's not just so as easy as you just get on meds and then everything's fixed. It's just this magic pill that's going to fix you, And so that was chapter 32. Now, chapter 33 is where an already off the rails thing, really, the train just flew off the track into a canyon and exploded for me.
Wow.
So
okay.
On chapter 33, starting on page 291 for me in my paper book that I have here.
Sure.
Grace mentions the term ADHD 7 times on one page. This is the amount to which she's internally ruminating on this, okay?
Oh boy.
It is mentioned 7 times on page 291, 4 times on 292, 3 times on 293, and 2 times on 294. Then Grace goes down a TikTok spiral and looks at TikToks for ADHD because that's how she
always
feels
how you should diagnose.
she can relate.
Exactly.
Because Phoebe's always looking on TikTok and she's got to learn. She has to figure out a way to get Phoebe to listen to her. She's like fixated on this, obsessed. I'm going to say it. On how is she going to convince Phoebe? Because God forbid Phoebe just come to this in her own terms, right? She is obsessed. And not only that, does she start looking on the TikTok? So she got to find a way. She makes an appointment for Phoebe, a doctor's appointment for Phoebe. She goes, well, if the insurance and that's the problem, then I'll just make the appointment. If she can't like get herself to think of set a time aside for that time management issue she has, then I'll just make the appointment for her. Oh, that's like the best thing ever. And I'm gonna find all these TikToks to send her.
That did not sound like a good idea when I was reading that.
No,
I thought that is going a little far.
Yeah, I thought for sure Phoebe was going to freak out in a bad way.
Well, and I feel like it was too much for where they were at in their relationship that she didn't even really know she had.
Right.
But
right.
But being the partner of somebody who has this problem, it's like literally what they need sometimes, because it's like it's literally paralyzing.
Right.
I agree. As a person that has ADHD, it is paralyzing. However, it's the flags come from the amount of fixation on this. And yes, it's helpful, but you have that conversation. So you leave that for another conversation. Hey, I'm really sorry if I came on too strong about you having ADHD and telling you you were undiagnosed and needed to be medicated. I'm very sorry about that. Would it be helpful to you if I were to,
Like I can
you know,
go with
look-
you, or
yeah,
I can, we
help.
can sit down and look
no.
at your calendar together.
Or sit
Right.
down
I
and
would-
watch some of these
Right.
TikToks together.
Mhm.
Right. I
Right.
would really like, if you would let me worry about that. I can look at, we have the same insurance. Let me take a
Mhm.
look at it.
And I
can
have
do
It's a
time.
that.
little invasive.
I've got time right now. I'm on the
Exactly.
bench, you know?
Like
It's
how
still a
far do
little
you
invasive.
go? Like
Right.
I noticed
You
you
need
needed
a-
to open
you
a
need
bank
a-
account also. So can I just
Have
have
you
your
had
social
your-
security number?
Have you had your well woman exam this year yet?
Yeah,
I can
when-
schedule that for you.
When was your last pap smear? Because I could
Right.
really help you.
I can watch a TikTok and do it myself. It'll be no
Yeah.
problem.
So wasn't it mentioned later that they, with all this that had transpired, like it had been like about a month? Or
Yes.
not much more. Like they hadn't even been around each other that long for her to be like, I'm making
No.
you an appointment. Like I said, Anne, I mean, given their relationship at the time, or
Right.
in Grace's mind, lack thereof,
Right.
it was a little
I'm
much.
not sleeping with any
So
of you, but
much.
I've known you for about 3 years, and I don't know that I'm going to be making doctor's appointments
No.
for any of you.
No.
Yeah,
It's a bit much.
I'd be a little freaked out by that. I
Me
think.
too. Yeah. Especially for a
But
problem
clear
that
up
I'm
your
denying
calendar
that
for
I
next
have.
Tuesday, Kat, because I
Yeah.
did make you an appointment.
Sorry,
And-
what?
I said,
Yeah.
clear up your calendar for next Tuesday. I made
What's
you an
going on?
appointment.
Where are we going? What happened?
And
We're gonna do a
Anne, if you
bar or
kept,
something?
if you mentioned it once and then came back and then mentioned it again and then
Yes.
came back and mentioned it again and again and again every time you freaking saw me,
Mhm.
we wouldn't be friends anymore. Like that's too much.
It's
Like
true.
you need to give people that time to
Right.
process and come to it in their own.
Yeah.
No matter
Right.
how
Drop-
good your
drop
intentions
it, like,
are.
Drop it into the conversation, and then revisit it like a little bit down the line.
Right.
Like, hey, have you given any more thought? Did you read those
Like-
articles I sent you? Like,
Right. So and that was chapter 33. Chapter 34 is when Grace tells Phoebe that she's made the appointment.
Right.
And again, this is also where Phoebe is a little blinded. And again, Phoebe is 22 and that, dating someone that she's formerly kind of obsessed with herself, right?
mhm. And a little
And again
older.
is blinded that Grace, while telling her that she made her the appointment, is saying, well, see, because I care about you so much, and I just essentially uses the term love in there to some degree and kind of manipulates it. Again, I think it was manipulative to be like, I did this for you. Look what I did for you because I care about you so much that I'm going to push you to do this thing that you might not be ready for but you can't say no because I did it because I care about you so much. So Phoebe, all she can hear is, you did that for me?
You care
Right.
about me.
Oh my
About me.
God.
Let's have sex.
Right.
Yeah. Which they probably did.
I think they
Mhm.
did.
Yeah.
I'm sure with her wanting to hear that so much, yeah, she probably just does take away. Wait, you did all this for me. You're not that maybe you're overstepping a little bit, but
Yeah. You're controlling and manipulative.
yeah, but
Sorry. I can't with
but
that.
for me,
No one's ever done that for me before. Yeah, Phoebe, there's a reason because it's completely inappropriate.
It's too much.
No one should do that for you.
Right.
Unless it's your mom.
Oh, Phoebe.
Right.
Phoebe, Phoebe,
Oh.
Phoebe.
All right.
Oh, anyway.
And so Grace has slowly been getting back into practicing, and she finally has her first game. And in 2.5 days, she's going to have her first game. And, Phoebe's like, I love you. Phoebe says, I love you during that whole,
She
she
does.
heard, yeah, she's like, oh, I love you. And then Grace
emotions-
almost set it back.
Yeah. She feels like she wanted to, but she held
Right.
back. Yeah.
Right. But then she's like, she starts thinking about it. She's like,
Look at Tara's face.
Phoebe says she loves people all the time, right? Like,
Sure.
Right.
oh, so and so does this. I just love them, like that kind of thing.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
she makes jokes, about not wanting to have a relationship. So Grace is kind of like, I don't know. Does she really love me? Did she mean that? Does she not mean that? And while she's at practice, she like takes the opportunity to ask about her and Phoebe playing these certain positions. Like if I'm not the captain, like, can we play these certain positions together?
Right.
Yeah. What else goes on in this chapter?
Well, she makes a deal. Like, I think if play us at these positions, if it doesn't work, I'll be captain.
That's
if
right.
it does
She'll
work,
take it back. Yeah.
she'll take it back. Yeah.
Right. And he's
Right.
like,
The coach
great.
is bitter. Don't tell me what to do. But then
Yeah.
he says, okay.
Right.
He says, fine, whatever. I can't wait for this ridiculous experiment to fail.
He sounds like a very motivational coach.
Yeah, he's a really good coach.
Yeah.
And then she also has a chat with Amanda during that time. And Amanda's like, I'm excited to watch you play. And this is when Grace puts in a good word for Phoebe, too. And, Phoebe didn't ask her to do that, but she's like, you should watch Phoebe, too. Like, she's really good, blah, blah, blah. And she realizes, like, she's doing this because she feels comfortable doing it, not because Phoebe asked her to do that. And so she's also like, oh, what does this mean? I need to talk to somebody about these feelings I have for Phoebe.
Yes.
Right. So she talks with her friend. So Grace actually reaches out to, was it H and some of her teammates,
Medea.
and asks for advice. Tells them about Phoebe.
Well, doesn't she text one and then she gets a call back and they're on speakerphone? And she's
Yeah, there's
"Wait,
like
wait,
three
wait,
of
wait,
them
wait."
there.
Yeah. FaceTime.
Yeah, FaceTime. Right.
Yeah, it was cute.
Yeah. And then she also decides that it's time for her to come out of the closet.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she's going to do this in this like exclusive farewell interview.
It's
farewell
not
to
good enough
interviewing.
to just tell her she likes her.
Right.
She's going to do a grand gesture.
Grand
right?
gesture. That's
Yeah.
always a great.
Well, didn't they were talking about a grand gesture, something, and she was like, well, I did that by making the doctor's appointment. Wasn't that a part in that where she was
Lord.
like, I did do something, a grand gesture. I made the doctor's appointment.
But also that she
Yeah.
was like, I don't know, does she really feel this way about me? And they're all like, duh, anyone who like watches her watch you, she's into you. Like, this is a sure thing. Don't worry about it.
Right.
And she's like, yeah, you've got it bad for this girl. And she's like, oh shit, I do.
Well, like I said, I like how she's not sure, but yet instead of just talking to her, she'll come on out with it in a magazine article.
Right.
I'm just going to
With
come
an
out
interview.
with an article.
That's the way to play it. Six.
So they have their national team game where, yeah, so she has their game, right? Their new positioning goes very well.
Yeah, it does.
So this whole book's kind of led up to this. There's like a paragraph or something on the actual game, and it's like, oh, went well. We scored a lot of goals,
Next.
and then then the article drops.
After the game, right? Like they're in the locker room.
like after the game.
Yeah. And she was weird before that. Like she was like, yeah. She's like, how'd your interview go? And she's like, yeah. It's fine. It'll come out on Thursday. Like she's just kind of been brushing a lot of things off. And so Phoebe was like, she's been weird like for the past few days. And just, it's been weird. And then Phoebe's like, we've kind of been seeing each other for a month, but she's being kind of weird. And she's like, what other secrets have you been keeping me? And then Grace finally tells her that, this interview was going to be her last, right? Before she tells her that like it's coming out on Thursday.
Yeah.
But so now like Grace is for sure like, she's realized Phoebe's it for me. Like I'm down with Phoebe. But now Phoebe's like, I don't know, maybe she's not into me because she's being weird and like keeping secrets and
right. And then they kind of, when they finally admit their feelings and Grace learns that she's been in a relationship for a month,
Yeah.
that part was funny.
but she hasn't known it, even though it was clear to everyone else. I feel the reader, right?
Sure.
So that was in chapter 37. They finally admit their feelings, clear up all those misunderstandings by talking. It only takes a few sentences, really.
Oh.
Right. And Phoebe's
Oh.
like, this makes no sense. We've been dating for a month. I told you I loved you last week. And Grace is like,
what are you talking
what?
about?
What? And she's like, but you just keep reminding me that we're not in a relationship. And Phoebe's like, that joke's only funny because we are in a relationship. And Grace is like, since when? It's all very comedy
Yeah,
of
that was kind of
errors.
funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then there's an epilogue, okay? And
Yeah.
it's like
Gotta love an
basically
This is my epilogue recap. Epilogue. They made it to the World Cup. Phoebe's been taking her meds and she's having some success. Like that was
yeah.
it was just like it was a very short epilogue. That
Very
didn't
short.
really
It was.
tell us.
Like
Basically,
1.5
things went
pages.
well with the national team, and everybody's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it. The end.
It does feel like it kind of wrapped up really fast. Like there were
Well, I guess the main thing was them realizing, or at least Grace realizing, hey, I'm in a relationship and all this. And then it's like,
Was
and
that the
it's a
point of
World
the
Cup.
book?
I don't
Grace
know.
realizing she's
I
in
don't
her.
know.
Well, the fact that they
Here's the thing.
are in one, even though one decided they were in one before the other was aware of it.
So here are my thoughts.
Oh,
My
yes, please.
thought is that maybe the author has a very close personal tie to ADHD.
Ding, ding, ding.
Probably.
Really wanted to get some kind of what are those called?
Representation?
Representation. Although I feel like it was a little misguided in my opinion. I feel like you talked about, Kat, it had been sprinkled in a little bit at the right moments that had been presented to us, but not capitalized upon at that time. You know,
Right.
it's kind of then it felt really rushed and really out of place. And
Yeah.
so I think
and because it was like concentrated in such a small amount of chapters, like it did feel
Right.
like, whoa, like take a step back,
right.
relax. You're being very weird about it just made Grace seem just not someone you'd want to be with, maybe.
Right. Because before that, like what you said, Anne, I felt like Grace had like a neurodivergence or something, you know, and maybe growing up the way she did, she wasn't exposed to a lot of social situations that you normally might be, you know, as far as dating or, you know, like just some things or just like social interactions among your peers, when you're, you know,
Right.
because you always have to act more professional. You always have to act. So you don't have a lot of those things that might mature you or make you feel, you know, act more mature in
Probably
certain
didn't have
situations.
time for dating and friends, right? Because of soccer. So yeah, exactly what you're saying, Tara. She didn't have that social interaction to maybe realize some of the things she was doing was inappropriate.
So, right. And so up until that point, I kind of like was very forgiving of some of her behaviors or the way she was just, and again, I felt something was going on with the constant kind of self hatred or that self like that I'm too old, I'm too, you know, I'm never gonna mount that, I'm only soccer, no one cares about me, and that's its own thing like that. What I felt was lacking was Grace ever having to explore any of that. She kind of got that
about
one
her own
conversation.
self.
Yeah, she kind of
Yeah.
got that
Yeah.
conversation with her dad, basically saying, "Don't do what you don't want to do." But that was only the tip of the iceberg. There's like so many other things that she needs to.
Right. It was a lot of like the pot calling the kettle black
Right.
kind of thing. And it's like,
There was-
where's your self actualization?
And there was a little throwaway line amongst all the ADHD mentions.
I was gonna
Amongst
bring
the
it up.
40 ADHD mentions. Oh, while I was on TikTok looking
There
at
you
all
go.
those ADHD TikToks, it sent me down a rabbit hole and I came across the autism TikTok. Oh, I might have to revisit that one at some point. Oh, it was like a very throwaway line. Like, oh, some of that like rang true to me when I watched the autism, like for herself. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then there was no other mention. It just felt very one-sided, like lacking awareness, where she's so very self-aware of all these, you know, overly aware of a lot of other things.
Right.
So to me, that those last like chapters 30 to 34 felt really weird for me and kind of like threw me off the whole. It made me feel like I don't think Grace needs to be in a relationship with anyone right now. I feel like she has some work to do or things she needs to figure out
Yeah.
before she jumps into it with Phoebe and is like harping on her for these things. I don't know. It just felt very out of place.
I agree. I also think because the autism thing was you're right, Tara. It's kind of a throwaway line. And yeah, like, there's lots of instances of Grace being like standoffish and like, pushing people away, but because she wasn't, if you know anybody with autism, obviously it's a spectrum, but like I feel like if the author had leaned into it more heavily, it would have been like, oh wow, this character from the very beginning is like socially awkward, and she just seemed standoffish. I don't know. It was like either do it or don't do it, like
Right.
I just felt like it was unsatisfying for Grace to have that throwaway line to explain a lot of her stuff and issues. It's like, we either lean into it or don't even bring it up. Like, I don't know. It felt like it didn't ring true to me. I don't know.
And
it felt like a
both
cheat.
characters couldn't have something, because like the real world is like you could very well in your household have someone on the spectrum and someone with ADHD.
100%.
But it's like, if you're not going to explore both, then were we so heavy-handed on this
On the
one?
one,
Like, then why'd you make them both?
Right.
It's like, if we're
Yeah.
not going to talk about it at all, like, because it could have been a real common ground moment where it was like, in doing this, I've realized a little bit about myself. So I was thinking we could
Right.
go to the same doctor, and I could maybe
Exactly.
get assessed for this, and
I made an
see
appointment
whatever.
too.
Right.
Right.
But it is the representation. It's like, well, while I'm all for the representation, it seems it's like a big trend right now in books is adding like neurodivergent characters,
Okay.
which is great because you get, you want to be represented, but it's like sometimes I feel like authors are just trying way too hard to do something that like everyone's kind of doing right now.
Right. And is it really like helping to serve a purpose, or is it
Right.
just
Or
a
is it just
trend?
like, yay, we have another neurodivergent character? And it's like,
Right. Are you helping people by doing this, or are you
the
just
way
couldn't
that
your character
Grace-
have been interesting without that? Like it's for some authors, I feel, and I'm not saying this is the case with this one, but for some authors, I feel like it's an easy grab for them instead of doing character development. It's like, oh, they're quirky in this, like, let's make them this. And that's where we can get like some quirky character development.
interesting? Yeah.
And the way that it was even represented, the way Grace was going on and really, again, I feel like harping on it, it almost portrayed ADHD in a more negative light than it needed to be, because she became so obsessed with, basically there was a part in there where she was giving Phoebe a list of all the things she felt was wrong with her.
Right.
Like, she was just going, well, you don't do this. You're always late. And it's like, not as a list of symptoms that you might want to follow up on, but as like, if you don't what are you doing? If you don't fix this stuff right now, something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
It's
She's trying to fix her.
whoa.
It comes across
Right.
as Grace trying to fix Phoebe.
not as a help, but as a
No.
Right.
fixation obsession.
Well, and again, like you said, it'd been a month. Like, okay, she brought it up. Why does now I
Right.
gotta make an appointment?
Could
We
you
gotta fix this
imagine
right
like
now.
dating someone she didn't even know they were dating, but
Or
like
just
you're in a
friends
new
with benefits.
relationship? Yeah, and
Yeah.
you're like, whoa, so do you not like me? Like you're just
Right.
So
you're
if
just
I
pointing
can't
out
fix-
everything I've done wrong in the past month.
Right. Because if, let's say that medicine doesn't help me for 6 months, or then I have to go on another medicine, are you going to be so put off by me still doing these things or me still having these issues
Right.
that like you're constantly going to be bringing this up to me?
Yeah.
Yes,
We need
yes,
to go
I
back
am.
to the doctor. That medicine's not working right. Well, you've been on that for 3 months, 6 months. What?
Sounds like
This
fun.
is what it's like to be married to me.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah, but you're married, okay? And it's a different.
I lo-
Sure,
does,
that's a workout.
does your partner know that you're married?
Yeah,
Oh
you
shit!
know that
I
you're-
probably should tell them.
Oh no! Oh, this is awkward.
That could explain it.
Did you like the book, other than the Did it hit home too hard? Is that
Oh no.
you said as someone with ADHD, was it too painful to be in
I-
Phoebe's shoes?
Rolled my eyes so many times
Oh yeah.
when I got to those chapters. Like I was like, I literally was like, oh my God, like pushing through. But when I got to chapter 35, after went back to Grace, like giving up the captain's thing, doing like, I felt like those were things that were steps. Like you could have just taken out the freaking ADHD thing. Like those would have been other things that could have happened that were
Right.
Because there was enough conflict. Like
Yeah,
it's like they
was.
didn't
Too
need that
much.
like last act conflict. Like we had it was fun. And like they had the relationship going from friends to benefits to like obviously we feel more. And then you
Yeah.
had like
not enough time was spent on that. Like,
right competition that was like heating up and like
Yeah, you
there
had
was
enough
enough
happening.
going on that like was fun but also dramatic that
Right.
it's like they didn't
could have
need
had
to
more-
bring that in there.
They could have had more fun, dramatic in-game moments, like during the game, like someone pushes her and then Grace gets jealous. You know, we could have seen a little more of this game at the end, or a little more of their kind of new chemistry going on.
Yeah. I think yeah, just echoing what you guys are saying, if the attention that the ADHD thing was given took away from a lot of other stuff that could have been fun. And I respect wanting to give more representation to ADHD, but I don't know that we needed it. I don't know, like if you take that out of the book, as you guys are saying, there's plenty of other things that you can play with. And they're, I love a good enemies to lovers. They were never really, this kind of, like Grace was annoyed by Phoebe, but there was never a rivalry between the two of them, which, it doesn't have to be. It's the story that they wanted to tell, but I don't know. I think it feels almost like the ADHD thing was kind of shoehorned in late in the book and either set it up earlier or just don't do, or just like she knows she has it, she lives with it, sometimes it affects her and it can be in the conversation, but too much, it was taking away too much from plenty of other things in the story that were way more interesting.
Well, and it was just too unbelievable that at this stage in their relationship, that's the level that she would have gone down with it.
Yeah.
And that it would be like okay with her.
Yeah. I mean, there's that
I
point,
did enjoy it.
page 291, where I'm looking at page 291 and 292, like an open book. And I just glance and I see the word ADHD 10 times.
Oh,
no,
no.
11 times.
Oh, no.
I'm like, what the? And I just was like, what the fuck is happening here? Like, before I even read it, I was like, whoa. It like popped out on the page.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, is this like an infomercial now? What is this?
And I've read Meryl's other books and I really like them. And it's, if you did like anything about this book, I encourage you to read more of Meryl's stuff.
Yeah.
I love the concept, and if they do end up making a TV series about it, it's going to be a very different story. I promise you.
Yeah.
It's going to look very different than what's in the book, and hopefully, all the good things that we liked is what's going to end up on screen.
Yeah. I liked the spice level.
Sure.
I liked the soccer.
Yes.
I really liked that it was like, her childhood crush, her idol. And
Very
it's
fun.
like we've
Didn't-
all lived like that
Yeah.
fantasy world where it was like,
Sure.
oh, anyone in the world you could,
Yeah. I felt like they could have even played up Kelsey a little bit more, made that a little bit more of a thing, more of a fun. Yeah, they have that kind of like rivalry
absolutely.
or a little like, I don't know. But yeah, it was kind of
yeah,
like,
make her
who
little
am I rooting
like,
for? Who am I rooting
worse.
against? I didn't really know most of the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was no triangle here. Like there's even something in the book about there being a love triangle. It's like there's no love triangle here.
No.
Like it's not.
It's
there's-
kind of like Grace, Phoebe, and Grace's self-doubt.
Yes, that's the triangle.
That's the one
the
trying to break
triangle.
them up. That's the one
Right.
that says, no, she's using me. No,
Right,
this
it's like
is
the
a-
devil
I
on
can't
your
be in a
shoulder.
relationship. No,
We're not even
Yeah.
dating.
I'm old
you
and I'm not
suck.
even good at
Nobody
soccer
loves
anymore.
you.
That's
My
exactly
body's
it.
old.
Wendy, you nailed it.
There you
Yep.
go. That's love
That's
triangle.
the triangle.
Yeah, there was enough, and they could have even played up more of, like you said, the soccer drama with the coach, or just the fallout from the article, maybe even a little bit, something like there could have been, like, if you weren't gonna take this further, or maybe like the sequel, they get more into that after they've been together for a while. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it said it really was just like a left turn that. And I thought, okay, that was weird. And I knew we were getting closer to the end of the book. Of course, I listened, so I feel like I still have a different take because I'm just listening to all these voices from the book on tape. And I was like, how are they going to fit this in? Like, we're almost done. They still got soccer stuff. They've got their relationship stuff. And now she's not letting this go. And
Yeah. Literally the game that they had been building up to, like that
Yeah.
whole like we finally get to play a game together.
Right.
It got one paragraph.
Right. The chapters like got really short in the end.
Yeah.
they did.
It was.
I would recommend.
I think the epilogue was 3 minutes on my book on tape.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
nothing. Gloss over a lot of the end. Like you can skim read the.
I would have rather heard that. I would have loved to hear them like
Have
Phoebe,
sex?
hey, you're on the national team. Hey, we're going to the World Cup. I would have loved to have heard
Yeah.
about that.
I
or read
thought
a
we
lot
were
of
going to
it.
actually get to see their journey to win these games, to get to the World Cup, to
Yeah.
win. You know,
Well,
it was none
because-
of that.
Yeah, their time that they got to play together, like Phoebe was stoked about that, right? She was like, finally, like actually getting to play with Grace
Yeah.
was like a whole other level. And then like they barely like talked about
Yeah,
it.
we don't see
And you
it.
know what happened? They barely played together. They only played that one. And what I thought from reading the description was there's going to be a lot of more on-field tension. between the
Yeah,
two of them.
like on sexy
Yeah.
times,
Something's
like
happened off the
Mhm.
field. You're fighting
Yeah.
to get. You're fighting off the field, but you have to play together on the field.
Mhm.
Like, how are you gonna? You know, are those emotions gonna boil
But
over?
in
And
the
you're gonna
beginning
get
it
in a fight
was,
with your own
right?
team
And
on
then-
the field.
And then the press picks it up, and they're like
Oh, yeah,
asking them to
sportsmanship.
do
Right.
interviews together, and they have to be nice to
the
each other.
interviews together.
Right?
That would have been a really
Come
yeah.
on.
Oh, yeah.
I am very intrigued if they end up making the show. I hope they do. I would love to see it. I'd love to see the cast. I'd love to see how they take the book, to the screen. I'm in. I
man.
want to watch it.
I hope
if
it
Megan-
makes it.
Megan Rapinoe is one of the people that have like, I don't know,
Optioned it,
producing it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
developing
I
it.
hope, I don't know what her acting's like, but how great would it be if she played Amanda, the World Cup coach, or like but one of the actual players has to play the World Cup
some cool
coach, right?
cameos.
That'd be
Yeah.
really fun.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
All right, I think we talked this book to death.
We did.
So what
Give it a
y'all think about the Wynonna Earp Vengeance trailer?
Oh, the trailer.
We're going to purgatory, are we?
She Nerds Out presents live from Purgatory.
I mean, I watched it a couple times. I haven't analyzed frame by frame
Sure.
Okay.
because I don't know if I would pick up all the minute details that you do. But it looks to me, I mean, obviously, like some of the clips, I don't know if she gets caught doing something in Vegas. They're trying to infiltrate something in Vegas. They
Right.
end up in the, with the bad dudes, and she's in her dress, and that looks like probably I don't know if it's pre-credits, but before
Right.
she gets the phone
The
call, they're
the
out-
teaser.
the
Wendy?
teaser.
Yeah.
They're doing some things.
Doc and Wynonna have clearly ended up like in a casino somewhere
Yeah.
in the like I'm getting like Arizona vibes.
Sure. Arizona, Montana, maybe.
Yeah, somewhere like
in a
like
hotel.
not
deserty,
motel.
not fancy.
deserty.
Looks like
Yeah.
they're in a motel out there in the middle of something.
Right.
She gets a call. Somebody's dead. Anything in
Yeah.
this trailer give you any more ideas who could be dead?
Well, and I will just quickly say that in that teaser, what we are, I agree, Wendy. I'm guessing it's the teaser. It looks like there's a revenant, which is
Yeah.
not something we've seen in quite a
Wait,
while.
where did you
Right.
see Revenant?
At the beginning,
or a
so the
demon or
trailer
something.
starts
In the casino?
With it looks like this when the trailer starts. It looks like they're in shorties to me.
Yeah, it's like
where
the
Wynonna's tied up. There's
first-
revenants.
Well,
Eight-
my impression was
He's
she's
shooting him
wearing
with
the
the gun.
dress
Yeah,
from
Ferdy-
that casino shot. Like she gets caught. Like I haven't even started cheating yet, and they
Right.
take her to some back
They
room.
pull her
Either
in the
she
back.
wants to go back there,
exactly.
or she ends up back there. To me, that looks like a continuation of her at the casino.
around 8
prior.
seconds. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I agree, Wendy. And around 8
Is
seconds.
this where she says, "Punch like a girl, you punch like a girl"?
Oh, he
Yeah.
does. to have red eyes.
He's got the red
Yeah.
eyes, and Peacemaker,
Son of a
does the
bitch.
barely thing
Yeah.
that lights up, which is what Peacemaker does normally when it's about to shoot a revenant.
does.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I honestly have not
Did
watched
you not
this
watch
since. No, I haven't watched it since
Comic-Con?
Comic-Con.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Well,
Because
we know
I've kind of been like I want to watch it to death, but
I know.
I don't want it to be done.
I know.
Like I can't wait for it to come out, but then what? Then
I
it's
know.
out and then
I
it's
know.
done.
Well, this is
Yeah.
part of the fun, is speculating.
No,
Exactly.
I'm gonna
No.
cry.
So maybe because
so yeah, I didn't see
after
this.
at the end of in season 4, like it's basically revenants are just can kind of run wild, right? So maybe they have encountered this guy running a casino, and now they have to take care of him. Who knows? We don't know. There's no way to
Well,
know.
because like a bunch of shit, like the fog, right? A bunch of shit came in now.
Right.
Like the curse is broken, but it doesn't mean that there aren't still bad things.
Right, and some of the revenants were still like running around doing stuff. They were at one point helping Wynonna, right? Remember?
Right.
Was it the end of season 3, maybe? Where they're on the homestead. They break the barrier so that they can help defend something or something.
But is all that glows a revenant? You know what I mean?
That's a great
Like,
question.
Doesn't it glow blue sometimes?
like
Sometimes
the
it glows red.
revenants are the ones, the 77.
Mm-hmm.
So this can be something demonic, but the curse is broken. So revenants aren't. I think not. See, now we're just getting crazy.
But see, the
into,
revenants don't
who knows
necessarily.
what's what.
At the beginning of the show, the revenants get sent to hell and then they come back
right.
once the Earp heir is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they just don't get sent back. Maybe they just die and that's it. Okay, meaning the curse is broken. So what happens to revenants if they die? They probably just die. We're gonna move
Well,
on.
Yeah. Then we get Wynonna's getting a phone call
Right.
in her motel room. It seems to be a Waverly. And Wynonna says, "What do you mean dead? What do you mean Earp?"
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then she
And
puts her little
she's-
jacket on. Says, "Here I come." Back to
She
purgatory.
gets ready for business.
She does.
And it's snowy, and we see like the purgatory sign in a limo.
I wonder if
Um,
that's their limo or if that's someone like one of the evil people.
Like that woman.
Yeah, coming to town. I feel like it's not them in that limo.
Yeah.
You don't think that's how they're traveling now?
No.
Via limo?
Let's tow in the motorcycle.
It's in the trunk.
And then Wynonna sees Waverly and says, "How bad is it?"
I
And
feel
then it
like
has some quick cuts.
I
to
feel like what they
Nicole,
cut
right?
to
Yeah.
is what happens to lure her back. Like I have a feeling
yeah.
the way they edited that whatever happened to Nicole and Doc. Well, no, wait, Doc was there, so no, it couldn't be.
Well, no. So there is in this little quick cut that you're talking about, Tara. There's a shot of Hot and Waverly showing up somewhere.
Mm-hmm. And you see Nicole, sheriff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stetson's
so maybe
back.
maybe that's what you're talking about,
Yeah,
Wendy.
so
Maybe
Nicole's
this is
No,
fighting demons.
for me,
It cuts
I
to
was-
Nicole fighting demons.
And that's the one
Doc's
I
not
saw.
there yet. Yeah.
Well, but then afterwards it shows a shot from her from that scene with that sweater, and Doc's helping her up. So
Right.
that's obviously they're already back in town by then.
I guess
Okay.
the shot I'm talking about is right after the purgatory sign
Yeah, that
Is
one I feel like
Hot
was
in
probably
uniform
what happened.
with the
Yeah.
what's it called? The Stetson.
Stetson.
Mm-hmm.
But then the sweater where she gets her ass kicked.
Yeah, that's later.
Yeah.
So and then Wynonna says, "So demons." And then Doc is helping Nicole up. Another cut, and Nicole says it feels personal. And then it cuts to Mercedes and the blonde woman fighting.
I'm scared
in the-
Mercedes is dead.
I
Yeah,
know.
it's not
Yeah,
looking
I feel
good
like
for-
that's
No.
But she's a vampire.
Yeah, but
Doesn't mean she can't die.
no. And we don't know
You
what
think
this
it's Mercedes?
it could be. We don't know what this
I don't
blonde
know.
woman is capable of.
Yeah.
She's obviously not human, so she can probably do some wacky shit that could kill a vampire.
And the woman says, "I need you to bring me the air." And then it kind of cuts to Wynonna saying, "All the demons I've ever killed coming for me." Nedley says, "I wonder why." And then a bunch of quick cuts. Waverly shooting a rifle. Wynonna throwing a grenade off a train. The Doc and Wynonna sexy dance where they kind of like, they're shooting on either side of each other. And they're like
Right. And
running around.
okay.
But they
Sexy
show
gun
this
dance.
bad
It's a great
girl
shot.
clearly crossing like she can get on the homestead, like all bets are off there. So like the homestead's not even safe anymore, where the homestead used to be like a safe place.
Yeah.
Um
Can I go back real quick to
course
Doc
you
and
can.
Wynonna on the train? So
That's
yeah,
hot.
well, it is. I love that shot. It's a beautiful shot. And so they're doing this like cool dance, and in the previous shot, I think you said, Tara, you see like Wynonna's throwing grenades. If you pause it around 50 seconds, Doc and Wynonna on the train, they're holding hands, and in Wynonna's hand is an item. It's like
something.
round and orange, which I think is whatever grenade she's throwing. I don't think it's a grenade. I think it's something, paranormal or
Doesn't look like a typical grenade.
no, but whatever it's doing, like it's definitely affecting those weird guys who are coming to attack them. But it's definitely not a grenade. I think it's obviously we'll find out, but it has some sort of mystical power, maybe. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, because it sure explodes like a grenade.
It does.
Right. And then Wynonna and Doc are on the porch at the homestead, and
Which
Wynonna
we
says,
know they have great scenes on the porch.
Yeah.
I love a Wynonna and Doc porch scene.
Yeah. And Wynonna says, we ride at dawn. Well, dawnish.
That was my favorite line in the
I
trailer.
shall be there.
It's a great line.
Dawnish.
And then Waverly says, we need the Earp heir home. And
But who
Nicole
is she
says, even if it's
saying
a
that
trap.
to?
Oh.
And then Wynonna says, especially if it's a trap. So it seems like
Okay,
she's
but
talking
if
to
she's
Wynonna.
right, so then if she's saying to Wynonna, we need the Earp heir home, does she mean Wynonna?
Oh, do you think she's talking about Alice?
Who's the Earp heir?
Oh,
Who is
And-
the Earp
good
heir?
point.
And wouldn't she just say, we need you home?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Interesting.
Maybe. I mean,
But
she has
Alice
referred
hasn't
to
hit her
herself.
27th birthday or whatever. So that was used to be the
Right.
when the heir assumes.
Right. But if the curse is broken, then maybe it's kind of like no holds barred kind of thing.
I mean, she's still an heir regardless of how old she is.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Don't know.
We
Don't
don't
know.
know. Like, and then there's so much, then I overthink it because I'm like, would Emily give us, like, are we just supposed to think this girl is the big bad, or is there a bigger big bad?
Well, she
Then
definitely morphs into like goo. So there could
We
be
think
some-
she turns into this goo.
Well, now look. Okay,
yeah, yeah, her
releases the
finger
goo.
does
I'm
that.
looking.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm watching where she runs her hand down
Waverly's
face,
face,
and you can
yeah.
see
her-
the nail growing as it does. and
There's some
turning
goo
into
there.
True. And then
something.
that picture with the camper and the ice, like that's definite. Like, I don't know. Is this like Willa reincarnated?
Oh.
Because when Willa got taken by that tentacle, like this seems kind of tentacly and gooey.
It does. It does. Yeah, and I will say when this, not to jump around, but the shot of Nicole holding up the door and the door
Yeah.
falling over, it doesn't look like it's the blonde lady. It looks like somebody else.
I feel like everything's coming back. So any kind of bad thing so the goo, the revenants, the other
Right.
demons,
Everybody.
the whatever, is coming back. Because she even says like all the demons I've ever killed. So like there could be different types of evils.
You think we'll see like stupid Carl come back? Like you think like they'll be like,
Oh God, I hope so.
wouldn't that be great?
That would be great.
It's just like, oh, stupid Carl.
I mean,
So
That would
maybe, yeah. And then, once Nicole gets run over by the door, then it cuts back to the evil woman and she says, you can't win. And then we see that evil goo outside the trailer on the lake. So
Yeah.
they run into the trailer. And then we see Wynonna on a wanted poster. And it looks like it's at the casino. So I don't know if she's wanted for a casino related crime or if that's
Oh,
something
yeah,
that
blacklisted.
a revenant has put up. Essentially, like
I feel like it says blacklisted. I
Yeah,
feel
it
like
says
she's
blacklisted.
blacklisted at casinos.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And then it shows Nicole getting beat up
that's
by
interesting.
Waverly or perhaps Gooverly.
Yeah, I agree. So maybe it is Gooverly. Maybe Gooverly's the one that
Yeah.
knocks open that door.
By the way, I love the tree branch shelving setup they have in the house. In the shot where the door's getting knocked in.
It is very nice.
Very creative. I like that.
It is. That's some good set dressing.
I want that.
I also think when we see the goo coming up out of the ice next to the trailer, it looks like it's forming a hand.
Yeah, it looks very handy.
I think it's gonna like punch the trailer, maybe.
I don't know. It punches through the ice, gonna throat grab someone. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. And then there's like something with like no face crawling in the snow.
Yeah.
Like,
It's this.
what is that? It's at
think-
112.
Is it the same things that are attacking them when they're on the boat? The train.
I don't know. Oh, maybe this could be the top of the train, quite honestly.
But I mean, I don't know if it's the top of the train,
don't
but
know.
it's the same sort of minions, I think, that are
Okay.
are running alongside the train.
And while this is going on, we have Nedley in the cemetery, and he's saying history doesn't remember who played fair.
Mm-hmm.
And he says they only remember who won.
Rudette.
Remember who won.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Is this about the Clantons?
right.
Maybe. There's a
He's
shot
in the
around
cemetery at that point.
109 where a guy, it looks like a heavier guy, is getting pushed by someone who just morphed in there. Do you think that's Nedley? 109, 110 in the snow,
Oh.
like someone just appears and then pushes a guy, and it's probably a stunt guy. You can't see his face, but do you think that's supposed to be Nedley?
I do. I think you're right.
And that's when he
Wendy.
breaks his arm.
I think you're right. Yep, I'll buy that. I'll buy that as Nedley.
Yeah, it looks
Okay.
like, and she's in the same outfit where she's smacking.
I don't know. There's a lot happening.
What's her
It
name?
could be literally in any order too. You know?
I know.
Oh, of course. We have no fucking
Wait.
idea.
And then oh yeah, I don't know. I feel like something bad goes down with Nedley and
I think Rachel's dead.
Oh, okay.
I think
I-
that's why Randy's at the cemetery. They say we haven't lost anybody in a long time.
Mm.
And I don't think he's like, I don't know. It could be Christy, but I think he would be crying more if it were
Yeah.
his daughter. I mean, even
Yeah,
though Rachel
interesting.
is kind of his daughter.
Yeah, that's why I feel like it could be Mercedes, because I feel like he'd be more
Yeah.
upset if it was Rachel or his daughter.
This is
Christy.
true.
And I feel like Wynonna goes from getting the call to like kind of a smirk, like I'm coming home or whatever. It's like, I mean, maybe she has a very emotional moment between the two.
Yeah. But the
Right,
whole,
right.
like, what do you mean, Earp? Like,
Yeah,
what
that's
does
what
that
I
mean?
don't. That's what I'm
Yeah.
confused
But it's
about.
cut that way too. Like it makes it sound like she's like, "What do you mean dead? What do you mean
Yeah.
Earp?" Like
Yeah.
we don't
Yeah.
know.
Or maybe, it's another, Earp ancestor or something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Mhm.
Then
Yeah,
we
I'm
get the
intrigued.
little title card or whatever we're going to call that.
Yeah.
And then after we get a little more, which is them all sitting around. So Doc, Waverly, Wynonna, and who else was sitting around the table? Nicole.
Yeah.
And at the dining room table, Nicole says, "This feels less like a reunion and more like a reboot." That's what Wynonna says. "I'd like to reboot this demon in her cooch." So
I bet she is the big bad, this person, but
I bet she is. Yeah.
but maybe she brings back, I don't know. We'll see.
So she's a demon, or maybe that's maybe it's a MacGuffin. Maybe it's
could be.
she's not, and someone else. She sends somebody else to fuck around in purgatory, and then she shows up once Wynonna's there.
I will say I'm looking one more time at this around right after I think it's around a reboot. It looks like maybe it's Wynonna in the trailer intentionally jumping into the ice or water
Yeah.
below it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's an intentional. Is that Wynonna? I
It
don't
looks
know.
like it. Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of
it's her.
snow
Intentionally going down there after something.
That's interesting.
after the kitchen table.
But yeah,
And
that little
after the
quick
kissing?
montage right after the.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
around 122, 121.
right after. It's like the very next shot after the table. The reboot, the coach.
Yeah, we're inside what looks like the trailer, and she's jumping in the water. It's like a ice fishing trailer, right?
Yeah.
Like you can fish.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. There's a lot happening.
Somebody gets hit by a
How's
truck. It
this
looks like.
all gonna fit together. I'm very nervous.
You guys, what do you guys see at around 126? What do you guys see on your screen around 126? It's actually beautiful. I think it's really beautiful.
I see. Is it Doc on a horse or after that?
No, it's after that. No, 126.
The Tubi
the
sign?
truck and the.
It's the Tubi sign. It's a
Got me.
beautiful thing. I
Coming
love
this
Tubi.
fall, which it's
When
fall,
to be when?
right?
It's fall,
Because it's got to
September.
be any day because
So,
Emily's
technically-
lurking about, and the pressers are starting next week.
I think the presser starting next week is a really good sign.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, because it's always around my birthday. Technically, the first day of
It's the 21st.
no, it's the 22nd, September 22nd.
22nd?
But that's according to the fall equinox.
Okay.
So technically, it's the first day of fall, September 23rd. So hopefully they are not going off of the equinox and they're just going off of like a vibe.
What
and
if
I
it's
think
your birthday? What if it's your birthday present? Is it going to be on a Monday? I need this to come out on like a Friday, a Saturday.
Oh yeah, please, not on a Monday.
I can't do a work day.
I need for it to come out very soon.
Here's the
Before
other thing.
September
We're all going to start
29th.
traveling.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Right.
It's
I
like-
know what you mean.
You need to know what the Earpers calendars are like, Tubi, because if you wait too long, like we've only got like a couple weeks here before people are either going a week before Earptopia
Yeah,
or coming that week and then staying a week after.
right.
So it's like you streaming wise, yeah, we're all going to watch it eventually. But like if you want it to look good the day you release it,
Multiple
you want us all
households.
to be in separate houses.
Exactly.
Or doing a watch party with just a few friends. You don't want us all in fucking Calgary
No.
watching it together one time. You know
As
what I
fun
mean?
as that would be, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Also, I don't want to be in a freaking airport and then finding out it dropped and being not able to watch it while a bunch of people watch it.
What are
So-
your guesses? Before or after the release will be before or after Earptopia?
well, listen, I am putting out in the universe. It's before, because I really need it to be before, and I think it's going to be. Honestly, if the pressers, you said next week, and is what we've been told the pressers are next week. I think it comes out the week of the 16th, Monday the 16th. That's
Is
my
that about how long they usually give for a drop? Like a week?
I mean, if you're doing press for a thing, that means you've released it to the press because they got to ask questions.
Okay.
But they're
So
not,
the people on Twitter today saying I'm going to be talking to the cast. What do you want me to ask? They've seen it.
that's normally how that goes. Like when you go to, if there's a big press event, normally the press has seen it, has a screener,
I
because
don't
then they
know that
know
all
what
these
questions
press
to
have
ask.
seen it, though.
But even so, like if you're doing a bunch of press, you want that to be fresh, right? Like you
Right.
don't want to wait another fucking month before they start actually, people are able to see it. I think it's coming out the week of the 16th. That's my prediction.
Okay. And I hope
you're
it's
right.
on like
I
a
do too.
Friday.
So maybe it will be the 20th. Maybe it'll be really up against
I
the equinox. What do you guys think? What do you think? Who
I
else
think-
has a prediction?
that September in general is counted as fall.
Okay.
I
Good.
in my gut tells me it will be after Earptopia.
Dara, don't put it out there.
Really? You
But-
think?
But I just think of when are the network shows starting up? Usually, that last week of
It's usually like
September?
It's usually around the last week of September. Yeah.
Yeah. So that I think would be. I don't think it would be the 16th. I think it would be the 21st, which is again problematic because people are starting to travel.
But Tubi does it. You know what Tubi does its own thing. Tubi's a rule breaker. They are, they don't abide by network rules. So
Right.
I'm just trying to be optimistic.
I know. And like
Because-
we can't like they do what they want to do, but like are they looking at these things is what I want to
Right.
know. Like
Because they
these
probably
2
put
weeks
it
in
in their.
October.
Yeah. How long has Earptopia been out there as far as been before the announcement
Oh yeah.
of the. Yeah.
Because like as
yeah.
great as it would be to watch it on a big screen with a bunch of Earpers, that counts as one time.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Right.
And like numbers wise, I know everyone will still go watch it, but like
We're all gone.
that doesn't seem great unless it's
No.
already come out. You know what I mean?
Right. And
As
you
exciting
know,
as a premiere together would be,
Yeah.
yeah.
we want those numbers.
To be fair, I don't know that Tubi cares about Earptopia.
Right.
No, I don't think
There's
they do.
that. Right.
I think they just set their day and that's the day.
So when I miss my flight because I'm sitting in the airport streaming Vengeance and unable to get on the plane until I watch it.
Well, everyone will
gonna be
just
a
have
problem.
watch it all together if that happens on a big screen, and then everyone has to go on their phones to their Tubi accounts and then play it from their phones later that day.
Right.
Yeah.
And this video I'm watching on the Tubi, YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
111,000 views.
Ooh.
Pretty good.
So
I mean, how many of those are us?
well, I've only watched it like 5 times.
Oh, okay, good. Great. That's a lot of views.
Not
Those
too
are-
shabby.
Those are some good numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people probably watched it on Twitter or whatever. Like,
Yeah, this is just like on this, I don't know, whatever, but
All right.
I'm excited about it.
Oh,
I
it's gonna be
can't
great.
wait. I hope it's like, it'd be great if we have enough notice where we could like all go to Kat's house and watch it together.
Right.
And I make Jello
I just think it would be
shots.
weird.
Yeah.
I feel like they're going to release it a month out or something. I feel like they're
Yeah.
going to be like coming October 7th. Like, I feel like at those pressers, they're going to be like, and they dropped the big news is they dropped the release date and it's October 25th. Like, I feel like they're going to go more for a Halloween vibe
Yeah.
and be later in the fall.
Oh, it's a good point. I kind of
concur.
want that, other than the fact that I know you would like new content
Yeah.
for the panel.
Because then they'll get those people looking for Halloween content on Tubi when they're sitting around, you know?
Well, how quickly?
I
When did they release Clickbait, and then when did it air?
I feel
what's-
Clickbait randomly just came out. Did they
Right,
even
th-
announce
that
it?
was only
I feel
like
like
a
it
week
just
or
showed
something.
up. Yeah, it was really quick.
I
It
think
was
they,
only a
so
week's
maybe
notice.
they do that.
I think Tubi moves quick, and I think you
Yeah.
got to strike when the iron's hot. They know that Earpers are ready to go. I don't think they want to fuck around or find out.
Then what
I
are they
think-
waiting for?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they didn't push. They weren't doing so much pre-release
Right.
and all this for.
But
for
do they
clickbait
get
either.
strategic? Like, do they want this in their 3rd quarter numbers or in their 4th quarter
Right.
numbers?
I'm thinking fourth quarter numbers.
4th quarter numbers.
Yeah.
See, we got to think. I feel rushed. I feel personally rushed if they're shooting for September.
Yeah.
October.
I need a little more
October
prep
feels right.
time.
Sorry, Kat.
Mhm.
Yeah. Other than that part, I feel like mid-October feels right. I want more for you. I know where you're coming from. But we can't have it while we're traveling. I want to be able to really immerse myself in it.
Sure.
And if it's like the week before Earptopia, I'm just going to be mentally stressed.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I know.
Also, if it's a week before Earptopia, that doesn't that doesn't
Earptopia.
give you a ton of time to prep.
it doesn't.
No, that's the thing.
You
But
could throw
it's
in some stuff, but
better than not having. it.
yeah. Me, you have to get less creative.
Yeah. Anyway,
I don't know.
no matter what, it's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great. We're excited.
We're so
I
excited.
don't know what else. Also, like, did you guys see like there was a thing on Instagram where somebody tagged a picture of Melanie and they hashtagged Audible. It was a BTS thing.
I saw that.
So that makes me think that they're gonna some of this extra content that Emily's been hinting at is maybe gonna be like audio series.
That would be-
Which imagine being able to just have them in your ear holes whenever you want.
That would be fucking dope.
Mm-hmm. And Audible's doing some like really cool stuff. That one panel we sat through with the safe man or whatever. That obviously very impressed because I can't remember anyone's names.
Quaid, Jack Quaid.
Titus, and Titus Wheeler, Welliver,
Oh,
whatever.
Yeah.
Bosch. But like they're doing like old timey, like really cool audio stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that would be neat. And I would definitely resubscribe to Audible if that happened.
For sure.
Mhm.
All right, then. Well,
all right. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, Anne. Thank you for joining us. And yeah, we'll have you back soon and talk some more silliness.
Mm-hmm. If you would like to send Kat, it's almost candy corn season.
No.
So if you want to send Kat some candy corn, you can do that by sending it to Snop, P.O. Box 6732, Burbank, California 91510.
You don't have to do that.
Or tell us how much you love candy corn.
No, come on, guys.
Or Cleat Cute or the Wynonna Vengeance trailer at Snot Podcast with 1D on the Twitter.
Or if you're thinking about enjoying candy corn
on.
with your loved ones, and perhaps you're eating the candy corn and thinking, should I tell my loved one that I think they're acting out and that they
have
seem
candy
like they
corn
might be off
ADHD?
their meds and maybe should be doing that? Just eat a candy corn, take a pause on that, and just don't go about it a different way. And then enjoy your candy corn while you contact us on Facebook and Instagram at She Nerds Out Podcast.
I feel attacked. You can send us an email at shenerdsout@gmail.com. If you send us anything about candy corn, I will delete it. You can also go to our website, shenerdsout.com, which is a candy cane. What is it called again? Candy corn free zone. Shenerdsout.com for all your snopping needs.
I feel like this podcast took a really sharp turn to candy corn, much like the book took a really sharp turn to ADHD.
I agree. It's sort of like shoehorned in there unnecessarily.
This episode was brought to you by Brock's and candy corn.
Hey, listen, I will become the biggest candy corn fan if we got sponsored by Brock's.
You need it every day.
I love it. Nom, nom, nom. It doesn't taste like wax at all.
It doesn't. All right. See y'all next time. Until then, she nerds out.
Out.
She nerds out. We're girls that like nerdy things. Nerdy things.
We're the Guardians of the Galaxy, bitch.